What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Luke here for our round two Showdown live stream for the RBC Heritage. Round one was, I'd say, a little bit hit or miss, but a lot more hits than misses today with the player pool. Guys like Cantlay and Lowry went out there and had really solid days. Adam Svensson, I'm not sure if you guys saw that towards the end of the day, ended up coming through having a really solid first round. And really, our only misses that I can think of off the top of my head were Tom Hoagie and Lanto Griffin. They're both at 2 over par. Both could still very well end up making the cut. Dustin Johnson was our one miss up top, but in my personal GPP pool, ended up with 20%. So it's not the end of the world. And let me think. There's someone else at one over par that I can't think of that I had at least 10% of. But outside of that, a lot of hits. So feeling pretty good about our lineups, even though I'm cashing right around what I ended up going in for. So, breaking even right now. But in terms of my 6 of 6 percentage, much higher than the field. I have a bunch of guys up there in the top 5. No Cameron Young. So before anyone asks, no, I did not play Cameron Young this weekend. I don't think many people did, right? He was right around 3.5% in my contest, coming off those 2 ugly missed cuts. I don't think many people saw this coming. Just definitely go ahead and put that out there, right? I don't think many people would have seen that type of performance coming, and I certainly didn't either. So if you ended up having Cameron Young in your pool, good on you. We'll see if it lasts, because I'm not sure if it's the best course fit, right? This is more of a plotter's golf course. You're going out there doing it more with your accuracy than you are with your power. So I don't think it's a course he's going to win at. And I see down here in the chat, Neil's talking about Mito. Completely agree with Mito. Absolutely love him. I mean, I'm glad to see him go out there and be in the top 5, but I don't know if it's his type of golf course. So, day one was a little bit of an outlier, I think, with some of those guys up top. And when we talk about the weather here in a second, you're definitely going to go ahead and see the player pool. It's interesting to say the very least. It's the weather tomorrow is going to be really nasty, right around 30-mile-an-hour winds in the morning. You're going to have at least 15 to 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds the entire day. It's going to play a lot different than it did today, that's for sure. Guys that hit the ball high, like some of those power hitters, are really going to get in that wind. It's going to cause them some problems tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. I see a few of you down there in chat. Pro Reactor says Berger and Kirk. Yeah, it was actually Berger, but he's even par. That's not really that big of an issue as of right now. That's like 5. He's like 5 spots off the cut line. I'm not really worried about Daniel Berger. I think he's going to be just fine. He's even par, I believe, by the way. He's not +1. Nick Murr says, let's go Svensson. Got him at 400-1. Now, if you have an outright number on Svensson, even better. I didn't fire an outright. I'm pretty sure you asked about him during the betting stream. So good on you, Nick. I know that you were on that pretty early. I have him in DFS, right? So that was my exposure this week. I think he has that upside. So, dude, that's a really nice ticket to be sitting on right now. 400-1, of course, on somebody with his ball striking upside. The putter just has to turn around. That's for sure. So we'll go ahead and see that. Don says that was a wild stretch of golf yet again. I'm not sure if you're saying you said the fairways didn't open to much. Yeah, it's a wild golf course. It's a small plotters type of affair. There's all those trees overhanging every single hole. So if you end up hitting one of those branches, you're going to get a lot of wild bounces. I mean, Jordan Spieth couldn't keep it on planet Earth today, nor could Justin Thomas. So in fact, even though their approach play was really good today, they had no shot at going low. So tomorrow with the wind, with even more dispersion because of the wind left to right, you are going to see even more misses off the tee. So I would expect even more carnage going forward. Don says, take the overs on everything. Yeah, we're going to talk about prize picks towards the end of this stream, and I'm going to do a video on it. But yeah, it's going to be carnage. We're going to talk about the weather here too. Matthew says, I got the Svensson outright as well. Really good on you guys. That's awesome. Tom says, Matt Fitzpatrick's 1 under par. He's doing just fine. Don French says, Cameron Smith strokes. I'm not sure. Again, this isn't the prize pick stream, so we're not going to focus on prize picks right now, but we'll have to see. Ray just says, perfect, bring on the carnage. Completely agree. I love seeing some carnage. And Matthew says, Lucas Glover and Hudson Swafford tomorrow. I like them. I have Swafford in my player pool. I'm not sure about Lucas Glover. He shot 3 under today. It's a relatively good course fit. Now, if you're taking the win narrative, that's a great pick, right? Because he has that low ball flight. He's one of the players that's more skilled at flighting the ball than especially some of the younger players, right? He's been around on tour. He's had to deal with that. U.S. Open type of conditions he's been pretty good at before. So definitely agree there. Robert says Mito Pereira at 29-1 seems juicy. Completely agree. I didn't expect this to be a great course fit for him, but he's just hitting 3-wood off the tee and just leaning into that approach play. A majority of his strokes were gained on the greens and with his approach play today, which is the Mito that we come to love and know, right? The Mito Pereira that tells us that he's going to win soon, right? That's why I've been so adamant about it for so much here on the channel. I definitely think that's intriguing for sure. Neil says, Burger, my bad, Luke, he's due to positive regression. Definitely agree, especially with some of the numbers we saw with the ball striking. He's a little bit unlucky with some of his lies around the green too. He got put in quite a few bad positions. And Robert says, get me some Svensson too. You guys are all jumping in on the wagon. I might have to take an outright on him, right? Because he's 5 under par. I'm still assuming he's at least 50, maybe even 75 to 1. Somebody go check. Go ahead and put that number down in chat because I might be hopping on the bandwagon as well. He's an insanely good ball striker. So if he can just putt like he did today, he's going to win this thing, right? Because he has the ball striking. But that big if is the putter. Let's talk about the round, though. So it played to right around its average 6/10 of each stroke under par. Last year, it played to right around 0.67 strokes under par. So right about what we would expect. And that was with some severe winds, right? We had, 10 to 15 miles an hour of sustained winds for most of the day. Towards the last hour or two of play, the winds did die down, but we were dealing with more firm and fast conditions. So there was a little bit of a trade-off. So if we go ahead and split this by wave, you'll see that in the morning, it did play easier than the afternoon, which we would expect. But it played a whole half stroke easier. And something to consider is that the wind came in right around 9:30, 10 a.m. So it didn't take very long, right? So this difference in terms of the morning to AM wave, that's actually due to the firmness of the greens. That wasn't due to the wind. Because if anything, towards the end of the day, the wind completely went away, right? So you would have expected there actually have been some pretty low scores towards the end of the day, and that was not the case. So that's just something to note there because, of course, the weather, like I said, is going to be an impact because look at this. I mean, it's one of the worst forecasts that we've seen. This is worse than what we saw last week at the Masters. It's also worse than what we saw at the Players' Championship because there's 30 to 35 mile an hour wind gusts. And now this is Wind Finder. This is by far the most accurate wind source that I have. And this is for the Hilton Head Airport, which is you can hear the airport from this golf course. It's that close. It's in that close proximity. So this weather station is saying there's going to be 15 to 20 miles an hour of sustained wind. That's not gusts for the entire day. And of course, 30 mile an hour gusts in the morning, closer to 20 to 25 mile an hour gusts in the afternoon. So actually a little bit of a reverse weather split here where you have the morning more intense wind and in the afternoon a little bit less wind. Of course, if you guys have been around here for a while, you know that it's usually the opposite there. So in terms of weather, there's not going to be an AM PM advantage, right? In the morning yesterday, we did have that 0.5 shot advantage, but because the wind gusts are going to be at least 10 miles an hour higher, it's going to be an even playing field, if not slightly harder in the morning. So just understand that. They do get the added advantage of having softer conditions, having more receptive greens. But I think that could be made up for with the wind here. So that's what I meant when I said it was a little bit of an intriguing weather situation where, usually the stronger wind gusts would be towards the afternoon. So make sure you keep an eye on this, right? This could change throughout the night, but as of 4 hours ago and up until right now, I did refresh this just before we went live. This is the situation that we're dealing with. So in terms of scoring conditions in total, I would expect them to resemble the afternoon more than the morning. So for a scoring average around 2, maybe a third of a stroke under par rather than 2/3 of a stroke under par. So, it's not going to be a drastic difference. It's not like we're looking at the Honda Classic, Arnold Palmer Invitational, second or third round at the Players' Championship. It's still going to be a relatively easy golf course where you can take it to perhaps 5-6 under par, something like that. But it isn't going to be completely gettable, right? It's not going to be completely exposed. And even though we have 30 mile an hour wind gusts, and I know you guys might be like, wait, are you not like reacting to that? There's a ton of trees, right? There's a lot of cover at this golf course. So it's really only like 6 or 7 holes where that wind is actually going to come into play. So of course it is going to impact them on those 6 holes. But the other 10 or 11 holes where you have all that protection, as long as you're flighting the ball down low, isn't going to cause you any problems. So that's a little bit of a nuanced thing when it comes to Hilton Head golf links. Just a little bit, or should I say Harbour Town golf links, a little bit different than most of these other tracks. We'll go ahead and catch up on chat before we hop into the player pool. Of course, we're going to be looking at some wind players with that wind in mind. Even though it's only going to be there for 6 to 7 holes, that could mean a 2 to 3 stroke difference, could end up making the difference in one of these large field GPPs. And we're just looking for scores in general. So first off, let's catch up on chat. Nick says it's 40 to 1 at DK. Ooh, I wish it was better than that. Wishing it was closer to like 50 or 60. So maybe, I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to see if it drifts higher or something like that. Maybe he starts a little bit. Wait, he starts in the morning tomorrow, right? So perhaps he goes out there, starts par. Somebody, makes two quick, sorry, two or three quick birdies or something like that. His number drifts to 70 or 80. Then I'd consider. I don't think 40 to 1's intriguing enough to me. Ray just says, I wouldn't play him in the wind in the morning. Yeah, I agree, because he's a high ball hitter. So we're going to talk about some of these high ball hitters that I'll be avoiding. So first and foremost, Cam Smith and JT. They are extremely high ball hitters. But second of all, JT could not hit it on planet Earth today. He was missing every single fairway. He was hitting it deep in the woods. And the fact that he even shot 1 under par was a miracle. He really should have shot 3 or 4 over par today. And that driving accuracy is always an issue for him, right? If anything, it's an outlier when he's accurate with that driver. That's usually when he goes out there and wins golf tournaments. And I just don't expect that to happen, right? He looked really rusty out there today. He's not really in contention. He needs to go low tomorrow, right? Don't get me wrong. He definitely has that upside. But given that we have a few other plays that I like a little bit more, just not somebody I'm investing in. I didn't have him for my 4-round stuff either. Cameron Smith is a high ball hitter. He hits everything extremely high. So he shot 2 over par, looked horrible today. He was a fade in our 4-round stuff. That's going to continue for round 2. Just looks kind of mentally checked out after the Masters. Of course, had that letdown. That was something that I thought might happen this week, and it definitely looks like that's hampering him. Let's talk about the guys I like, though, that being Colin Morikawa, Shane Lowry, and Patrick Cantlay. Guys I was playing for my 4-round stuff, but more importantly, guys that have shown an ability in the wind. I mean, Shane Lowry at Royal Portrush, right? He won the Open Championship in extremely windy conditions. Patrick Cantlay has shown an ability to take apart difficult conditions, difficult golf courses. So if we're expecting it to play a little bit harder tomorrow, that's definitely a feather in his cap. And Colin Morikawa won the Open Championship, right, just this last year, has also been very solid at flighting his wedges. Today was much more solid with the approach play, and he shot 1 under par. It could have very easily been 3 under par, ended up having a really bad break on the last hole, was in a divot on the side of a hill right on top of a bunker. It's as bad as it sounded. He just had to kind of blade it out of there and almost chipped in for par on the next shot. So could have extremely easily been 2 under par. Had a few other misses from less than 5 feet for birdie on the day. So like I said, it really was a lot better than the 1 under par shows there. And he wasn't even his best with the approach play. Like, he was far from his best at every single aspect of his game today, yet he still shot 1 under. That's how good of a player that Colin Morikawa is. So if he just sharpens it up a little bit across the board, could very easily put that ceiling performance up there. Dustin Johnson, I'm not really all that bullish about. He looked really rusty today. He looked solid at the Masters with the driver, kind of all of a sudden figured it out with the accuracy. One thing I'll say is that you have a ton of room over there at Augusta National. You can miss 30 to 40 yards off the center of a fairway, yet still be in the short grass. Might not be the fairway, but the rough over there was an inch, maybe an inch and a half at the very most. Here, if you're 30, 40 yards offline, you're in the woods, right? It's just a much different golf course when it comes to that off the tee play. And I think he's getting a little bit exposed in that department. So I wouldn't be going there for Showdown. I'm not so bullish on him for my 4-round stuff either. I think he should probably go pack his bags and head for the weekend. I don't think it's going to work out too well for him this weekend. Patrick Cantlay and Shane Lowry, on the other hand, are hitting the ball immaculately. I mean, Shane Lowry could have easily shot 8 under par today, left a ton of strokes over there with the putter. Patrick Cantlay also looked really solid. The ball striking is back for Patrick. It wasn't like he was sinking those 20 to 25 footers all day. He's making the 7 to 8 footers like pretty much everybody was going to. So if he can bring that pot putter to the table, like we've seen from him over the last 4 to 5 months, again, he could shoot something like 7 or 8 under par. He has that in him, especially with the ball striking we saw. Corey Connors made a hole-in-one today. So if you're playing Showdown, you needed to have him because of that extra bonus. I'm not sure if I'm playing him tomorrow. He's a good ball striker. I'm always considering him for Showdown, but I do like Fitzpatrick a little bit more, who shot 1 under. Daniel Berger, who shot even par today. Both of them didn't do anything crazy, right? But they shot right around the average, which, I'm not going to hold against them too much. I think a lot of people will, right? A lot of people are looking at that like it's one of the worst rounds in history. I know a few of you guys in the chat, right? We're like, oh, horrible round, right? They shot about the average for the field. That's going to happen over 4 rounds in an event. They go out there, have 2 solid rounds over the weekend. They could still very well finish in the top 5 or even win this event, right? Think about it, right? How many times do we have that guy who's 14, 15 under through 3 rounds that ends up shooting just 1 or even par in the last round? ends up winning the event, right? So you can have a round like this. It's not like it's the end of the world. And look at their ownership, right? Fitzpatrick went down more than 10% from what he was for 4-round stuff. Daniel Berger is going to be single digit owned. For me in Showdown, that's an absolute gold mine. I still love the plays. There's a reason why both of them were relatively chalky this week, especially Matt Fitzpatrick. Right? He was much more chalky than a Daniel Berger. It's because he loves this place. He's had a ton of success at this place, and he's coming in with good recent form. So no reason to get off of him just because he shot 1 under par. Again, guys like Shane Lowry and Patrick Cantlay, they're going to be chalk, right? This 17 and 15% could even be a little bit low. They might come in closer to 20, 25% when it's all said and done. Because especially the casual golf fans, the people that don't really do research when it comes to Showdown, they love playing themselves, the guys that shot 4 or 5 under par the day before. And you guys know just as much as me how hard it is to back up one of those rounds. So that's why there's always an edge when it comes to these Showdown contests. Not really big on Russell Henley. You guys know he's not my favorite player, but more importantly, got a lot of his strokes done with the putter today. Joaquin Niemann, I played him in my 4-round stuff, so very glad he went out there and had a solid round today. He's $8,900. So the whole psychology factor of being there being an 8 instead of a 9 before his name, right? If he was $100 more expensive, if he was $9,000, he'd probably be a lot lower owned than he's going to be, but could very well be 25% owned tomorrow. Would not surprise me. It's hard to back up a really low round, right? So he shot 6 under par. I don't think it's the best course fit. Much like a Justin Thomas, they have a very similar build, in my opinion. Very solid off the tee, very solid on approach. The putter can be inconsistent for both players, but they're not very good with the accuracy off the tee. That's one thing that gets them in trouble, right? So that's why Joaquin Niemann, I played him this week, but I was a little bit worried about it. Much like a JT today, could cause him some problems there. So not somebody I'm playing when he's going to be chalk. If he ends up going off and helping my 4-round stuff, so be it. I'd be pretty happy about it. Jordan Spieth was extremely lucky today. So much like a Justin Thomas, should not have shot 2 under par, should have been closer to 3-4 over par. That worries me for Showdown for sure. Webb Simpson was 3 over through 13 holes, ended up birdieing his last 5 holes straight. Ridiculous stuff. I think he's going to be a little bit chalky, but I love that momentum. That's something I talk about a lot here on the channel. And this is his place. This is his happy place. He has a ton of success here at Harbour Town. So $8,700, I'll definitely have him in my player pool. Same thing with Billy Horschel. He looked pretty good today. Ended up shooting -2, not +2. That's incorrect right there. Terrell Henn shot -4. He was at -5 at one point. Really kind of stalled out in his last 6 or 7 holes. I like the course fit, right? He was a core pick for us in DFS. I'll be backing him once again because he's also pretty solid in the wind. Same thing with Billy Horschel and same thing with Webb Simpson. So all 3 of these guys in the 8K range have shown an ability in the past to go low in windy conditions. That's also why I'm targeting guys like Daniel Berger. He, of course, did that at the Honda Classic. Matt Fitzpatrick, being from England, is used to that over there in the European Tour. And we already talked about some of those guys up top being good in the wind. So you can see that there's definitely an emphasis on these guys in my player pool, but especially when we start to get down here in the 8 and 7K range, especially the 6K range, we kind of start to abandon that mindset because some of the guys down low, we just have to hunker down on the guys that are actually playing good golf. Up top, we can be a little bit more selective, right? So Kevin Kisner, he was really frustrated all day, but ended up finishing strong, getting it to 2 under par. I like the momentum. I like the fact that he was able to get it to 2 under par. He's not going to be pissed off to start his round tomorrow. And realistically, if he shoots 4 or 5 under par, he puts himself squarely in contention. So he certainly has the motivation to go out there and have a really solid second round. So I like his upside. He's also shown an ability in windy conditions. Kevin Na, same story. 1 under par. Some may call that disappointing, but at the same time, that was slightly better than the average today. And just a great course fit. He's had a ton of success at this golf course specifically, and now he's lower owned, right? Now people are going to be, quote unquote, disappointed with a 1 under round, which really isn't all that bad. And he's 7.8% owned. So I'm definitely willing to get there. And if he catches a hot putter, he doesn't even need to be all that sharp. If he catches that hot putter, he could shoot 4 or 5 under par really easily, extremely realistically. And that intrigues me a whole lot. I do like Brian Harman at $7,700. He shot 1 over today, so that is a disappointing round. He wasn't very sharp with the ball striking, but loves this place. He's a good course fit, more of a plotter than he is a power guy, and also somebody who he's been good at hard conditions, not necessarily the wind. Not really anything sticks out with his finishes in the wind, but he's shown up at U.S. Opens before, long rough, hard conditions. He's shown up before. He's a relatively accurate driver of the golf ball. So all those things make me like him for the next round. Tom Hoagie shot 2 over today. He just couldn't make a putt for his life. Only had 1 birdie on the day. So if you're looking at round 1 and trying to, figure things out for round 2, you want to run away from a Tom Hoagie. But we know this guy's more than capable of the bounce back. I forget what golf tournament it was, but he was 5 over in round 1, ended up shooting like 7 under in round 2 and making the cut. Just something absolutely ridiculous. And then making a run over the weekend and finishing in the top 10. It was recent. It was in the last month or two as well. I just can't think of the exact golf tournament. So he's done it before. He can do it again. I'm going right back to him. Kevin Stroman at $7,600. Another guy who had a relatively disappointing day. Same thing with Russell Knox. So let's go ahead and group these two players together. Relatively good course fits. I loved them going into the week, and now they're 2.2 and 3.6% owned, and I shouldn't say even cheaper, because Russell Knox is actually a little bit more expensive. Kevin Stroman, I believe, is $100 more expensive than he was for his 4-round stuff. But much lower owned, right? Much easier to get leverage there. We can use them as pivot plays in this range. And before the week, they were much higher owned, right? They were relatively popular plays, depending on what contest you were in. So I like that type of upside there. Ian Poulter at $7,300. He shot even par. I didn't play him in my player pool this week. So, I didn't track him too much today. I'm not sure really how he hit the ball, but he's a relatively good player in the wind. He's a high upside player when he gets that putter working. And he's 2.7% owned. I'll put him in 3 or 4 of my 20 lineups from entering the 20 max for tomorrow and get some leverage that way. Let's catch up on chat. I'm sure there's a few things down here to catch up on. Tom McDermott says Shane Lowry, Matt Fitzpatrick. So I'm assuming this is a lineup. You have Jordan in there, Tom Hoagie, Poulter, and Tringale. So the only one I'm not thrilled about would be Jordan Spieth. That would be because of the driving accuracy. He did spray at a good amount today. Sean Poindexter says 66 to 1 on Bovada. That's perfect because that is the book that I have access to. Nick says wind equals Knox. Pretty much every single time we have the wind, you want to go to Russell Knox. So definitely agree there. He's a low ball flight type of guy. He's from Scotland, so obviously used to the conditions. So definitely agree with you there. And Sam Ergel says, thoughts on getting 2 top guys and then filling in with 7K players. Feels like there are a decent amount of solid plays down there. So 2 guys up top, probably meaning, at least $9,500 plus, and then taking a bunch of 7K guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 7K range. There's a bunch of guys I have down as yeses. I do like EVR, Damon Ortiz, which we'll talk about here in a second. A lot of high upside plays here. Like I said, Tom Hoagie and Kevin Stroman for the bounce back. Same thing with the Russell Knox, given the wind. Even guys like a Kevin Na, you go up here to guys like a Kevin Kisner, who's $8,000. You could probably still fit him into a lineup with 2 studs up top. Or even guys up here like at $8,500, $8,400, like an Alex Noren. You could probably fit them into that lineup too, Sam. So I'm not against doing that at all. In terms of the guys I would spend up for in that lineup, my favorite options would probably be Colin Morikawa and then Patrick Cantlay. Of course, you're getting the discount on Cantlay. He's only $9,600 now. And Colin Morikawa is only $10,200. So you could realistically fit 2 of those guys into lineups, perhaps even 3 of them. You might even be able to take Morikawa, Shane Lowry, and Cantlay in a lineup. You'd be living in the high 6K range at the very best at that point. But I wouldn't be against that for Showdown, right? It's only a 1-round sample size. You're getting most of your points from the birdies that you're making. Not against that at all. To answer your question in a long way there, I definitely think that's a way that you could build your lineups here this week. Another question. Matthew says, Danny Willett back into form. I agree. Pretty surprising, to be honest with you. He kind of fell off the face of the earth there for a while. He's pretty good in windy conditions, right? When it was really difficult at the Masters, ended up having that 5-shot comeback on Sunday. So certainly has done it before. And Ray just says, thoughts on Siwoo in the afternoon. He was decent today. So he's playing in the easier conditions. Again, I put quote unquote easier there because I expected to play relatively flat across the board. He looked decent today. Let's take a look at his price and his ownership. So I have him down as a blank. I'm not really for him or against him here. He shot 2 under today. He's pretty decent on POA. You're saying the ball striking looked good today, so I don't have the ball striking numbers up in front of me. But if he gained off the tee, gained with his approach play, the putting numbers historically have been pretty good here. Pete Dye, he's been pretty good at those Pete Dye golf courses. Players Champion back there a few years ago, has shown up at the American Express. Also has a win at another Pete Dye golf course. you could definitely talk me into it. He's also only 8.7% owned. That was the main thing I was looking for up here. He's relatively low owned. You can get leverage taking him in 3 or 4 out of your 20 lineups or something like that. Yeah, definitely something I'd be looking at, man. I definitely think you're looking at that the right way. All right, let's continue on here. Let's talk about some of the value picks I'll be going to. So getting down here to Joel Damon, Ortiz, and also EVR. All three are really volatile plays. People that are going to go out there and make a bunch of birdies. Just also more than capable of shooting 3-4 over par. So, just understand what you're getting yourself into with all three of these guys. But out of the three, I would expect one, maybe two of them to go off tomorrow to shoot something in that 3-4 under range. So certainly guys I'll be adding to my player pool. But far from locks, not people I'd be looking to in cash. Sahith Theegala, I'd be willing to get to. He shot even today. Didn't really do anything special, but he's shown an ability to shake it off in the past. Last week, after round one, I was like, oh, we can't play this guy. He looked horrible in round one. He shot 7 under in round two. So he's shown an ability to turn it around. Proved me wrong. I believe I even said, I was like, oh, I don't think this guy's going to turn it around. He hasn't shown that ability. Well, he showed it last time out. So now I'm willing to go to that type of guy. Of course, he's a high upside play, extremely aggressive. He takes aim at every single pin, has no ounce of fear in him whatsoever. So certainly somebody I'd be willing to go to. Aaron Wise looks like he's clicking back into form. Just obviously one of the best ball strikers in the world when he's firing in all cylinders. Same thing with Matthew Neesmith down here at $6,800. His ball striking was just a little bit above average today. It wasn't really his best, but if you can tap into what he's been doing over the last month or so, you can see that's why these recent form metrics are so favorable for him. Top 40 across the board pretty much. Hopefully he can tap back into that. I know somebody before, I believe it was Matt, mentioned Hudson Swafford. I agree, he's a very volatile play, but for Showdown, that's what we're looking for. And he's also been good at these coastal windy tracks, right? Just think the Dominican Republic. He has a win there. A few other wins on short tracks that are really windy as well. So certainly somebody that I'm going to that has succeeded at some of his comp courses. Andrew Putnam is a pop putter. He could go out there, gain 3 or 4 strokes to the field with the flat stick. So that's what I'm hoping for with him. Doc Redman looks pretty solid today. He shot 2 under par, is a relatively precise player. So when you have these windy conditions, he went to Clemson. So he's used to those conditions out there where it's super windy in those flat areas. Sam Ryder at $6,500. I play him in Showdown because he's hooping shots, right? He's going out there making eagles seemingly every single event. And if we can capture that, kind of like people did with Corey Connors today in Showdown, could end up taking something down. And the last guy I'm even considering on the board is Peter Monotti. And I'm not going to have him in many lineups, but he's an absolute madman, is taking aim at every single pin, a pop putter, like a lot of the other people that I'm taking as value picks down here. So if you can go out there, make a few 20 to 30 foot putts, do his normal thing with the aggression, try to make like 6-7 birdies on the day, somebody that could perhaps come through. If we're talking about pure flyers, Sung Kang is an aggressive mofo. You could consider him. Kevin Tway was in horrible recent form, ended up withdrawing a few weeks ago as well, but shot 2 under. So perhaps he's getting back to it. Wesley Bryan has won at this golf course, looked pretty decent a few weeks ago as well before imploding there on Friday. Roger Sloan and Tyler Duncan, in terms of my recent modeling, it's favorable for them. So that's the main reason that I'm playing them here. The recent form has been a lot better than some of their peers. So that's all I've got, guys. We're going to end it here. I'm not going to go through a ton of detail because, of course, it's just a Showdown stream. We'll catch up on chat, see if there's any questions. It doesn't look like there are. That's okay. If you're watching this on replay and you do have any questions you want me to touch on, feel free to go ahead and comment them down below. We will be doing the same thing tomorrow night. So I'm expecting, perhaps 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So something similar today. I'm going live for round 3. So we'll have the cut. I'll have to make sure that all that data gets through before we can go live. But assume something in like the 7 to 7:30 range. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like the live stream if you haven't already. Make sure you comment down below if you do have any of those questions like I mentioned. Best of luck with all of your round 3 lineups. We will have a prize picks preview coming out here shortly. So if you're looking for those props, make sure to check that out here. It'll be coming out next 40 minutes to an hour, something like that. Again, I appreciate you guys. See you guys next time, and best of luck.